Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Alt.tistic, the most retarded show, socio-political talk show, whatever you want to call it, podcast on the face of the internet. I am your host, Garrett. My co-host Davey is once again indisposed, but this time he is in Branson. He's out of town, so he's being a loser and spending time with his family instead of chilling here and making fun of retards. And so that just leaves me with my producer, Zach. How you doing, Zach?
Pretty good. Chilling.
Just chilling. Well, we have a great show for you. Hopefully, it's a great show. To start off, the Queen died. The Queen of England. Apparently, that's big news. I know everyone that I follow in the realm of politics has said something about this because this is a very significant event. But frankly, I have nothing to say, good or bad, because I never paid attention to her. Let's put it that way. I've heard mixed things, mixed reviews about the lady.
I've heard people who like her and dislike her for some of the same reasons.
Yeah.
Or like mostly non-white people who don't like her because she ruled over an empire, and then people who don't like her because she ended the empire.
Yeah, there's that whole thing, and then of course there's the Princess Diana stuff.
That too.
Yeah, from what I can tell, I haven't looked too much into it, but I've seen some articles talking about how she was strongly anti Regency, very anti royal family, and I think she was planning on exposing them at some point about certain illicit activities, possibly to do with minors, and then she mysteriously died in a car crash. And I think there was a magazine published in the early aughts where she had letters that were found where she said that the now King Charles III was the one who was going to kill her. So, good job, England. You're doing great. What is the role of the royal government at this point? Because they have a prime minister who pretty much presides over everything. They got parliament. So what's the point of the royal family?
It's because their government structure is the opposite of ours. Our power comes from the people, so we elect government officials to represent us. We delegate our power as the people to them, so they make laws and do all that crap.
Okay.
But in England, the parliament and the prime minister's power comes from the head of state, the queen or king.
Okay.
And so the prime minister doesn't represent the people, it represents the king.
The king. Okay.
So the government is sort of a delegation from the ruler, the monarch.
Okay. Like I said last week, I don't concern myself with foreign politics. So I don't take a lot of time to really dive into a lot of that stuff. I will say, I guess on that topic, she was a person who was beloved and hated. To those who beloved her, I'm sorry for your loss. To those who hated her, I don't know, congratulations. I don't know. I don't like celebrating people's death, even if they were evil. But it is what it is. She was 96 years old. I know people call her a lizard woman or whatever because she lived that long. I have a great grandmother who's approaching 100. She's 99 right now. She's doing just fine. So she can't walk, but that besides that, doing just fine mentally, all there. So that's all I'll say on that.
All I really have to say is King Charles III now, he's a WEF guy.
Oh boy,
which isn't good.
Yeah.
And also an interesting fact I realized: the first two King Charleses, the first one was beheaded, and the second one ruled over the plague and something else, some other bad thing.
The Black Plague, like Black Death, or
I don't remember which one it is, but it was a big plague.
Okay.
And so there was some conversation about whether or not King Charles would stay King Charles or use a different name because they're allowed to do that. Because, King Charles has a bad rap.
King Charles gonna transition.
Well, but he's stuck with Charles.
Yeah.
So.
Jeez. Oh, well, that'll be fun. That'll be fun to see what happens with that. Regardless, though, we don't really care all that much. But I did find an interesting video that kind of sums up everything I've been hearing about the whole thing. That will be video 11.
Oh my god.
Hey, what's wrong?
The queen is dead.
Latifah?
No, the queen of England.
Oh, that sucks. My thoughts and prayers are with the British people.
How are you not more upset right
I
now?
don't know. I'm American. And maybe I wasn't the biggest fan.
She literally reigned for 70 years.
Okay, you're saying that like she sat on the Iron Throne for 7 decades and fought off the Lannisters, the Targaryens, and an army of White Walkers trying to overthrow Buckingham Palace.
She was an icon.
She didn't even run England. The Prime Minister does that. I mean, the whole royal thing, it's a tourism act for Great
The
Britain.
royals are fucking awesome.
I mean, didn't they, like, murder Princess Diana?
That was a car accident.
That's right, yeah. And wasn't her son, like, a pedophile, Prince Andrew?
Okay, yeah, he was like really bad person.
And, like, recently, didn't they, like, disown Harry and Meghan Markle's kid because he was, like, 25% black?
No, they quit the family.
Oh, yeah, they quit.
They wanted a normal life.
I can't even quit my minimum wage paying job at Sparrows. And these people quit the royal family.
Okay, well,
Doesn't add up.
she was a great human being, and I'm gonna pay my respects. Okay?
Yes, babe. Pay your respects, please. How you gonna do it, though? Be like every girl on my Instagram feed posting a story of the queen? Like it's their actual, literal grandma that just passed away?
You're a fucking
Okay,
asshole.
fine. I'm sorry. I'll honor her by wearing an English soccer team's jersey as I watch the opening night of American football, baby. Come on.
That's pretty much every American, the average American person was, oh shoot, sorry Britain, but we got Fox Sports at night, baby. The Texas playing Alabama. We're gonna see who wins. Woo! But for real, sorry for your loss, Britain. Moving on. Moving on. We're gonna keep the jovial spirit going before we get into what I want to make the main meat of this episode. We're gonna play well, before we play it, it's gonna be video 8, but don't pull it up just yet. Just some context. So this is a video of the aftermath of the screening of a movie called The Whale by director Darren Aronofsky, who he's a good director. He's not one of my favorites. If you ask me, like, what's your favorite director, I wouldn't necessarily go to him first, but he did one of my favorite movies of all time, Requiem for a Dream. His first movie was a movie called Pi, Pi, 3.14159, etc., etc. Solid movie. But he's a very prolific movie director, and you get to see the star receive a standing ovation. I know I kind of want to keep that as a surprise, so let's play that. It's our boy Brendan Fraser. Oh, I love him so much. Just like seeing this man getting hugs, and it's very it's very heartwarming to just see like Brendan Fraser getting a lot of love and praise and adoration. And just seeing him, I don't know, he's a very wholesome individual. One of the very few Hollywood people that I would describe as wholesome. But yeah, I mean, we can pull out of that. We get the point. But I wanted to play that just because I'm excited to see The Whale, and I love Brendan Fraser. Not necessarily, I've never seen any of his old work. Back when he was huge, when he was in the Mummy movies, Monkey Paw, or no, Monkey Bone or whatever, he was in Journey to the Center of the Earth. He was kind of big, 90s, early 2000s, and then kind of fell off, got blacklisted because some Hollywood executive decided to fondle his booty a little bit, and he said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. You know how it is. Women in Hollywood getting oppressed and sexually. Oh, no, wait, Brendan Fraser's a dude. My bad. But he got blackballed for a little bit, but now he's back. He got a little bigger, a little more bloated, but it happens to the best of us. He comes back, and he's been in some of my favorite stuff, and I'm here for the Brendanizance. He was in a Steven Soderbergh movie a couple years ago, 2020, called, I don't even remember, like No Sudden Moves, I think. It was solid, but he was good in it. He's been in the first 3 seasons of Doom Patrol as Robot Man. Really good in that show. I'm excited to see him do this. He's going to be in Martin Scorsese's new movie. He was going to be in the canceled Batgirl movie, but we'll pretend that never happened because everyone else is. But he's working with some very prolific voices in Hollywood right now, getting to be the star of a bunch of different vehicles. So I'm very happy for him. He seems like a very wholesome guy, just trying to do his best. We actually saw him at a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
I was gonna save the picture in the program, but I didn't do that. I have a couple of pictures where we were at a NASCAR race together, and we looked over on stage, and there was Brendan Fraser, and he was gonna be the pace car for the race, which was really cool. He was there promoting Doom Patrol because his character was a former NASCAR racer. So it's just all this culmination of, I really like the guy, so anytime I can praise the phrase, as the TikTok account is called, I'm gonna do it.
And that was right before he did the meme. What are you doing this?
Yeah, we were there when that meme was born. And that is gonna be my claim to fame for a while. I saw that meme go viral. I go, he's wearing the cowboy hat, he's wearing the suit, he's on that stage that I saw him on. Oh my gosh, I was there. I was in the background. I was in the background of him going, what are you doing this Sunday? Oh man. But shout out Brendan Fraser. Really, really wholesome man. Anyway, let's move on to the meat of the show. We're gonna bring down the mood, I suppose. And that's because something happened relatively close to where we live, and that's kind of the main reason I wanted to talk about it. But I want to talk about I don't want to say his real name because F these guys, and I don't want to give them any exposure that they already have. Like, it's one thing if they're loose, but there was a dude who went live on Facebook, I believe Wednesday or Thursday night, and was filming himself shooting people and just indiscriminately. Like, we have a video. I don't think we're gonna play it though because it is a little graphic, and he shows his face, and I don't want to. I mean, to our 8 subscribers, although we did get 68 views on our last episode for whatever reason, so thank you. But yeah, I don't want to give him any more exposure than he already has. But he went live on Facebook, shot some people, engaged in a high-speed chase. He posted on his Facebook during this and was like, "Hey, yo, we gonna engage in a shootout with the cops?" And people are just like, "What are you What are you doing?" What is going on in Memphis is what I want to start with. This was insane because I was receiving live updates as I'm sitting in my house. Grant, we live in Central Arkansas. I wasn't too worried, but there were reports of him crossing over into Arkansas. I was getting kind of worried for the people I know up in like A-State or in that area, northeast Arkansas. But the fact that this guy was able to go on as long as he did and just do this without a care, and taking in arrested and kind of throwing in the face of the whole, oh, cops really like to shoot black people, and like, this dude just went on a murder spree and they just calmly took him in. But I guess first off, I want to show this picture. Picture 10. And I don't know if it's up because our little screen over there froze.
Oh, yep, it's up.
Okay.
And Davey is too.
Hi, Davey. So this was a tweet that kind of went out and basically said that in one of his random shootings, this dude decided he was going to pretend he needed help with his crashed car, and a woman in scrubs decided to go over there and selflessly help him, and he shot and killed her before stealing her car and driving off, and that was kind of the main car he used for the night. This dude was evil. No doubts about it. He was, and we have picture 9. Don't pull it up because it has his name. But he was a 19-year-old when something happened before. But he has charges from 2020, including criminal attempt of first murder, aggravated assault, employing a firearm with the intent to commit a felony, and reckless endangerment. He only spent 3 years in prison and was released in March. He got out early this year. He didn't serve he didn't serve his full time, his proper time, and that's because the DA of Memphis is Soros backed. Light on crime. Fun stuff.
Yep. It was attempted first degree murder and some other stuff, and he pled guilty to aggravated assault, which is what he was doing time for. He didn't even get. I don't think he went in for the attempted murder.
Jeez. Yeah. So, like I said, light on crime. This dude should not have been out of prison after 3 years, and then he goes around and decides to film himself on a live stream. Shooting people. The one I saw was him walking into an AutoZone. He's speaking. He's speaking in incongruent language. That's just it's street talk. Thug talk.
Ebonics.
I don't even know if it's Ebonics. It was like it was straight up just like slurred. Like I'm gonna pull over. He was probably under the influence of something, but he walks in and just says like, "Oh, I'm gonna go all GTA on this," and then he just like shoots a dude, and it just for no reason. And everything about this rubbed me the wrong way, and obviously it did. But what rubs me the wrong way is A, the fact he Facebook live streamed it. B, the fact that there was no motive behind this. He was literally just doing it and filming himself, and it makes me think about the impact social media has on our culture, the impact of broadcasting. That's why I don't want to say the dude's name on here. That's why I don't want to show his face or anything. And it's because this dude live streamed himself doing this. He wanted to look hard. He wanted to look tough. He wanted to, show himself to be a badass. And in order to do so, he gets out of prison and he goes around killing a bunch of people for no reason, indiscriminately, and posting on his Facebook, asking questions if he should continue to do it. Almost as if it was an IRL Twitch stream, and like, yo guys, tell me what to do. Look, I love the internet. I love social media. I think it's cool to connect with people all over the world. Obviously, you follow political channels, you follow YouTube channels, any of these people, they get to connect and collaborate because of the internet. Some people make best friends over the internet. But this is a downside to that culture, is we feed into this machine of people live streaming themselves, posting pictures of themselves committing horrendous crimes. And not only is 9 times out of 10 nothing done about it, but it just allows people to latch onto that, spread the video, spread the pictures of the guy, talk about his name, and he becomes infamous. This is going to be someone who's probably... Oh, no, he already is inspiring people. We have another video that I'm going to go ahead and pull an executive call on and not show that one as well, of these two guys in a car saying, we're gonna pull up on white people, we're gonna shoot them, we're gonna make sure they out on the street saying, white lives matter, we're gonna go all Zeke mode on it, and saying that in reference to the guy. And basically, these are also two guys in Memphis who have already shot, I think, an elderly white woman, and just because she was white. So we literally now have a documented anti-white hate crime, which is not going to be reported by the mainstream news. I don't think, Facebook Live guy was on, any mainstream news, only local news, only people who are not going to be super biased with what they report. And right now it's just being ignored by CNN's, Fox's, all those mainstream news sources, because it doesn't fit the agenda, whatever. So we have that aspect of it too, of white people being murdered by black people, with the stated purpose of because they're white, not a whole like, oh, this dude was just robbing the place because he needed to make a couple extra cash and he bumped into someone and just pulled the trigger. No, these were two young dudes going out and saying, we go murder some white people and make sure they have White Lives Matter protests, whatever. And with a case on record of them shooting a white woman for the express purpose is because she's white. This is what rhetoric does, right? This is what broadcasting these people's names and going, oh, this is blah blah blah. He's 20 years old, whatever. This is the effect of this: is you continue to demonize white people. You continue to call them the devil. You continue to do all this. You pay attention to people like freaking what's his name, Louis Farrakhan. Guys like D.L. Moody, or not D.L. Moody. He's a preacher. There's another dude named D.L. that is a race grifter. People like Sean King, Talcum X. You pay attention to these people and promote this message of, oh, Whitey's out to get you. Not even like they're taking it a step beyond this idea of white oppression against black people, which isn't true, but it's taking it beyond that. It's not just, oh, they're oppressing you, we need to stand up and fight for you. It's, these people are oppressing you, they all deserve to die. Every white person is actively working against you. You need to be on your toes. Hate white people. White people are the devil. White people are the worst. They're the ones that are the 100% cause of all your problems. You get fired from a job, it's Whitey's problem. It's Whitey's fault. Your daughter dies in a freak car accident, Whitey's fault. Like, anything that happens in your life that's bad, it's white people's fault. It's always about racism. It's always at its core, race is the message that they promote. You don't take any accountability for your own actions. Everything you do, you can blame on Whitey, and it's Whitey's fault from now on. And this is the result of that, is now we have young black dudes going around indiscriminately killing white people because they're white, because all their lives they've been told, Whitey's the problem, Whitey's gotta go. And to add on to that, someone just saying, hey, maybe don't race swap the Little Mermaid, that's an example of extreme white supremacy and we need to snuff it out. That is freaking retarded. And we'll get to Ariel later, but the point of this is, if you don't see that the freaking extreme dichotomy there, I don't know what to tell you. There is an active anti-white agenda in our country, and you can just see it by those basic examples. You say, hey, Lord of the Rings, the books, they describe the elves as silky white skinned. Why do we have Don Lemon playing an elf? And it's, oh, we have racist and white supremacists. This can't be allowed to exist. We gotta shut them down. IMDb is gonna ban their reviews. We're gonna kick them off of all social media platforms. They don't get to have a voice. But then we have black dudes going around literally filming themselves shooting white people and saying, we gonna hunt down Whitey, White Lives Matter, protest, whatever. That gets to stay up. That gets ignored by social media. And if it is shown, it's usually in a more positive light. And it's disgusting. And young people need to freaking know better. We need more fathers in the household. That, first of all, because that's an extensive problem of the black community right now, is lack of fathers in the home. We need to promote more fathers taking accountability for their actions, which means, less promiscuity. But we need to stop telling black kids that they can't do it because of Whitey. And I'm not just saying that because I'm scared some black dude's going to roll up on me and shoot me. Yes, that could be part of, I feel pretty safe where I live. I don't really care.
Well, and as of recording this, there is a murder suspect on the loose in the town over next to us.
Oh, geez.
It is I don't know, what do you call it? Ironic?
Oh.
I was just going to mention that as you're saying. I feel safe.
I feel safe. And by the way, there's a murder suspect on the loose.
We don't know the race of the guy, to be fair.
Yeah. What town is it? Okay. So, dang, I was just talking to someone the other day about, granted, we don't live in, technically, I don't know, borderlines are weird around here, but we don't live in, for the most part. But it's close. But I was just talking.
But he could make his way over here.
Yeah. We were just talking the other day. I was talking to someone at work, and he's going, man, we live in such a safe place. But, yeah, but I guess that goes to show that's starting to permeate the safer neighborhoods and the safer towns. It's not just going to be confined to Little Rock, to Memphis, to LA, to, New York City for long. It's going to start permeating into the suburbs, right? And that's where Whitey feels safe or whatever, so we got to go and permeate that, and, we got to get them because that's where the real problem people are. it's just it's a sucky situation, and I hate it, and I really hope that guy rots in prison for a long time, because that would be true justice. But the overall cultural impact of this is this is the result of everything mainstream media has been saying, and it's not that it hasn't before, but now it should be noticeable how dangerous this type of thinking is becoming.
Yeah, and I saw a video just recently, and this was from a couple weeks ago, on a high-speed chase channel, because I like watching Arkansas State Troopers chase people. And this lady was speeding down the interstate for whatever reason, and so this cop pulls out behind her, lights her up, and she starts flying down the road, weaving in and out of traffic, all this stuff. So the trooper pits her into the wall, crashes. Both their cars are disabled.
Jeez.
And she, he pulls her out of the car, arrests her, put her in the back of his car, and he's outside, like, talking to pedestrians that stop to help. He's looking at his car, just hanging out, and she's in the back of the car going, "This guy's gonna kill me. I'm dead. He's gonna off me right here and right now." And I'm like, I mean, maybe,
but if you didn't,
but it was also like 8:45 in the morning on an interstate.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
You also just ran from Arkansas State Police.
Yeah, if you just pulled over like a normal person, that really wouldn't have happened. You wouldn't have had to worry about that. And
she was like, when she was talking to the officer, he was like, "Well, you could have just stopped." And she was like, "Well, I didn't feel safe." Like, I felt like my life was in danger.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's like, okay.
I'm not a thin blue line guy at all. I'm not like, oh, the cops are always right, because we've seen, how cops are used as, to quote Eric July, teeth of the state. We've seen that. But if you get a cop behind you lining the lights up, just pull over. And if it's like an oppressive, whatever, breaking, violating your constitutional rights, yeah, at that point, yeah, you can get a little curt and be like, why are you doing this? But if it's just like, hey, your tail lights out,
you're just going a little too fast.
Yeah.
At like 8:45 in the morning, it's not like super late at night in the middle of the city, and you're doing nothing wrong.
Yeah.
And a cop pulls up behind you. You're driving down the interstate going 20 over, and like, okay, just pull over, get your ticket, and leave.
Yeah. Look, I've dealt with good cops. I've dealt with bad cops. First cop who ever pulled me over, I was going about 20 over. Actually, no, I was probably going around the speed limit, But he said I was going 20 over, and I said, "Oh, really?" Well, I was going 20 over, and then I'm trying to remember now. Memory's weird. I was going 20 over. He pulls me over.
Memory's weird, huh?
Memory's weird. I don't know, officer. I was a little intoxicated. No. He pulls me over. I was going 20 over, so I thought it was a speeding thing. And he walks up to me and goes, "You didn't use your blinker changing lanes." I distinctly remembered using my blinker to change lanes. I said, "That doesn't sound right, but I mean, if you say so." And he got super aggressive with me. Even a light pushback on this dude, and he gets super aggressive. He looks me in the eyes and goes, "Your eyes are red. Are you intoxicated?" Like threatening me with drunk driving. I give him all my stuff. I check my eyes, and they're perfectly white, silky smooth. I hadn't been drinking. I barely drank ever. And this was when I was a minor, too. And so this guy gets super curt with me, and I was terrified that I was about to get arrested, but I just went along with it. I got all my stuff back. He gave me a warning and decided to go 95 speeding off down the interstate, and I never saw him again. So you just have to, as calmly as possible, keep the peace, because cops are always on edge. And I get it. I get why they're on edge, but you kind of have to accommodate that just a little bit and make sure the situation is as diffused as possible. Do not light a spark, because that sends everything into crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of our main serious portion, I suppose, of the show. Let's kind of move on from that. Let's lighten up the mood. There was a couple grooming stuff that happened this week, but I mean, there's grooming stuff that happens every week. Let's talk about something more important than grooming. No, nothing's more important than stopping grooming. But we have our announcement of our new monkeypox chief guy. Here,
Yeah.
let's introduce him with video 12.
Nope.
Say hello to Mr. Slave.
Hi, kids.
So that's Mr. Slave, the teacher's assistant, or as I like to write for short, the teacher's ass.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, Mr. Slave, go sit until I need you.
Oh.
Dude, I think that Mr. Slave guy might be a Pakistani.
I love South Park. Okay, but for real though, pull up picture number 2. Does he not look like Mr.
Oh my
Slave?
gosh, I don't want to.
We literally have Mr.
literally
Slave
is.
in charge of containing monkeypox.
You can't write these jokes.
You really can't. Like, I don't know what job this guy actually had before, but you got a picture of the guy looking like Mr. Slave from South Park, and you're going to put him in charge of trying to contain monkeypox. Contain it. That is the most counterproductive thing I've ever heard of. Oh boy. Well, now we're feeling good again. We can safely move on to culture, I suppose. That was a bit of a shorter political landscape video. But you know, sometimes you just gotta kick back and relax after something a bit more serious. So we'll move on to culture. Okay, so I told Zach I might rant about this a little bit, and I'm a little worked up about it. I was talking about it earlier with the Rings of Power thing, right? So to set this up, I've never seen Lord of the Rings, never read it. Like I said last week when I first got the book. I'm gonna start reading that soon. I'm not, so judging from that, I'm not a big Tolkien fan. I'm not a big Tolkien head or whatever the fan base is called. But I've been keeping up with all the Rings of Power stuff that's been happening. With Don Lemon Elf, with Black Dwarf Queen, excuse me. The Harfoots, but that are, actually hobbits, but not actually hobbits because we need to distance ourselves from that because we can't use hobbits. All that kind of stuff. So the first 2 episodes came out last week. Third episode came out this past week, and I'm so blown away by how hard of a cope Amazon's going to cover this up. There was an excellent video by Jeremy from The Quartering talking about how Amazon had basically blocked negative reviews on IMDb for your dumb show. This is what got me wired up, not the actual show itself, because I haven't seen the show. Not a Lord of the Rings person. I'm going to read the books at some point to be able to have the context so I can go into the show and properly rip it a new one. But what got to me was the fact that that Amazon and IMDb have gone to such an extent to cover up negative reviews, and then they have Access Media publish articles about, hey, anyone who doesn't like this show are racist and white supremacists. Not to mention the fact that these same racist and white supremacist women-hating people are absolutely into House of Dragon right now. I'm watching House of Dragon. I'm digging it. I really like it. Even though they completely race changed an entire family of people. The Valerians are now black individuals with bleach dreads, but like dirty blonde beards that don't match at all, but it's an oversight. But we still enjoy the show. We still sing its praises every week to week. I'm going in expecting the absolute worst. And every episode I'm like, you know what? That was actually pretty good. And I really like Daemon. I really like Viserys. Those are my 2 favorite characters right now, and I'm really starting to enjoy the extended cast. Yet, what they want to push is if you don't like Rings of Power, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, all this kind of stuff. And this is what I was talking about earlier in a much more serious context of you can't even criticize media that contains a black person in it without being called a racist by media, by reporters, and by the people who made it. And it's led me to believe, it's led me to this thing. First off, you're going to go to this extent to cover up reviews, to cover your butts on bad product. You made the bad product, and when the consumers don't respond to it, it's their fault. They're racist. They're white supremacists. They're white. They're all this kind of evil stuff. They're Nazis. I'm gonna slur that a little bit. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube, but the point is, you're gonna go to that extent to cover your butt on bad product. Imagine if, like, I don't know, if Kellogg came out with a brand of Frosted Flakes and posted and posted Tony the Tiger, except now Tony the Tiger was distinctly ghetto. he's wearing a flat brim cap and gold chains. And people go, first off, that's just weird that you would do that to Tony the Tiger, but also the cereal doesn't taste good. And Kellogg comes out and goes, Kellogg comes out with a commercial, Tony the Tiger comes out and goes, if you don't like my new Frosted Flakes, you're racist. I'm glad I segued really well into that. Imagine if a cereal company did that, or if a food product did it, or I don't know, if you hired a construction company to build you a house, they make it poorly, you tell them that they made it poorly, and they said, well, we use Latinos to build the house, so I guess you're just racist for not liking the new home that's currently caving in and is not livable. That's not an excuse. The fact that we have people who are getting paid to write articles talking about how racists are giving negative reviews to Rings of Power, maybe it doesn't occur that they just made a bad show, but also the fact that this is what you're getting paid to do. In the grand scope of the culture war, you are going to lay down on the line and fight tooth and nail over negative reviews. That is pathetic. Like, in the grand scope of everything happening, whether it's the Facebook Live Memphis guy, even in your own industry, where we're having conflict, quote-unquote conflict, over, casting decisions, fundamentally changing the DNA of certain established stories, like we're going to talk about with Little Mermaid, a Danish fairy tale that is now being reappropriated for a modern audience. That's something we can at the very least talk about and have a conflict with and try to fight for, because that is a part of culture, that's a part of heritage, that's a part of storytelling. But the fact that we're at the level where we're banning negative reviews to protect ourselves, and then we have these little sniveling weasels writing articles going, oh, if you don't like Rings of Power, you must be a racist. Get out of here. You are contributing nothing to our culture, nothing to society. You're a bunch of little bottom-feeding weasels that are trying to remain relevant by fighting on behalf of a giant corporation that frankly has enough FU money that they could have this show fail and still probably be able to carry on just fine, even after the divorce, Bezos' divorce. This is what you're fighting for, is negative reviews or positive reviews or whatever. Who cares? People who are going to go see the show, they're going to tune on to Amazon Prime, see there's a Lord of the Rings show. Either they like Lord of the Rings and they're going to watch it, or they've seen the trailers or seen the discussion around and go, it's not for me. Or they, like me, hasn't seen anything Lord of the Rings and they won't care. Changing the reviews isn't going to impact at all, or at least very minimally, the people who are going to be willing to see this show because it's a big blockbuster show. It'd be one thing if it was a show like Sprung on Freevee. No one's heard of it. Barely anyone's watching it. I think it's pretty good. And I started watching it because it was getting good reviews, right? A smaller show can benefit from a positive review, but no one's going to fight tooth and nail for that because it's a small show. And frankly, most small shows don't have to rely on a diverse cast to shield themselves, which brings me to the next point. We all know that casting decisions are very, very intentional in Hollywood. They cast people who look a certain way because that's who they want, whether they're going out to cast Commissioner Gordon and they explicitly want to look for a black Commissioner Gordon, or even in that case, they say, hey, Jeffrey Wright, we want you to be Commissioner Gordon, which I haven't seen the Batman, sue me, I'm a fake fan, whatever. But I can see Jeffrey Wright in a Commissioner Gordon type role, even if he doesn't look like Commissioner Gordon. But they go out and intentionally find people to fit that mold that they want them to fit. There's no, like 9 times out of 10 it's going to be like that. There's the 1 out of 10 chance of, like the Batgirl directors were saying like, oh, well, we looked through everyone who looked like Barbara Gordon, and the one person that brought that energy was Leslie Grace. And if that, if they're telling the truth, cool. And there could be an instance like that. However, 9 times out of 10, they explicitly go out of their way to cast these people, which is cool, whatever. But when you do it to an established story and you fundamentally change certain aspects about how this world is being presented, you cast black people, you cast women, whatever, and then you use them as meat shields, which makes me believe you just think the show sucks anyways. You just don't want to admit it. And because you know the show is going to suck, you just purposely cast minorities so you can hold them in front of you and against the line of fire and go, oh, no, you can't say that. Look, we have a black person. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's pathetic. That's pathetic from a big company to just go, hey, we're going to cast discount Don Lemon, which I know it's not Don Lemon. He just kind of looks like a more Latino Don Lemon. We're going to cast a Don Lemon lookalike in our show just so we can use the defense that if you don't like the show, you're racist. Not actually because he's a good actor, right? You had the guy a couple weeks back from Black Panther Wakanda Forever, where the guy comes out and basically says, yeah, I'm a diversity hire for Namor the Submariner. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind. First off, you're just throwing these guys out into the lion's den. Any criticism, you immediately deflect the criticism onto these guys and then say, oh, look at, you're bullying this person. Hey, Kelly Marie Tran, get off of social media and we'll just blame it on white supremacists or whatever. I don't know. You're going to do that, but also notice how they do it to some of the whitest things out there. Like they say white people don't have a culture. This started back with Thor. Idris Elba, I love him. He's a great actor. But he plays Heimdall, who not only is from Norse mythology, which is some of the whitest stuff I've ever seen. I've gotten a little bit into Norse mythology, and it's freaking lit. It's dope. That's Viking stuff. That's Norwegian stuff. That is distinctly white culture. And you're going to cast a black dude in that role. If you did that the other way around, let's say I wanted to make a movie about African mythology, which apparently Hollywood doesn't know about or doesn't like. But I wanted to have a character in there. I wanted to have Anansi, who is, I think I mispronounced that maybe. It's either Anansi or Ananasi. But he's from certain African tribes. He is the god of spiders. He's the trickster god. He's kind of like Loki, except he likes spiders. And I wanted to go, well, I like Bruce Willis. Let's put Bruce Willis in this role. You know for a fact, some Twitter person's gonna go, oh, Anansi, let me look that up. Oh my gosh, he's from an African culture. You can't do that. You're taking away from black culture. But as it exists right now, you say one thing about, hey, maybe Idris Elba shouldn't have been cast as Heimdall. Not only is he a good actor and he's wasted in such a minimal role, but also it's a Norse god who I believe in a bunch of iterations has been described as one of the whitest of the gods. He's distinctly one of the whitest of the white gods. And that's who they chose to cast as Idris Elba. You say that, and suddenly it's, well, you're a white supremacist. You can't handle black people existing in white spaces. And it's like, you can't handle white people existing in black spaces at all. So you can't talk like that. Either they get their spaces, they get their culture, or they don't. Like we have Little Mermaid. D3 was this past weekend. I didn't pay attention to it. I did watch the Little Mermaid trailer. We have a picture of that, which will be picture number 14. And this is basically the only shot we get of Ariel in the Little Mermaid, played by, I want to say her name's Jamila Jamil. Maybe not. No. Jamila Jamil is she's the singer actress who's in She-Hulk right now. This is Halle Bailey. That's her name. And look, she seems like a nice girl. I'm not, most of the time the fans that come out against this stuff, we don't attack the actors. They're taking a job, even if they're joining this project because, oh, I want to be a black Little Mermaid, whatever. Here's the thing. This is a remake of a classic animated movie, which is very, very good. It's very good. Under the Sea is a classic. But it's based off of a Danish fairy tale from 1837, written by a Danish dude whose name escapes me for the moment. I have the link pulled up. I want to say his name was Thomason or something like that. But it's Danish, which is, once again, a distinctly European white fairy tale. But the people who defend this, first off, say if you say it's a Danish fairy tale and you can't really, that you're going to have to cast someone who looks like they'd be a Dane. Oh, well, you're racist. But also, I saw someone defend it and be like, well, actually, it takes place in the Caribbean. And it's like, no, it wouldn't, because at the time, at 1837, the Danes didn't really care about the Caribbean. Why would the Danes be like, oh, yeah, let's write about the Caribbean back in 1837? They wouldn't. They write about where they're at, especially for folk tales. So that doesn't make sense. And the only thing that occurs to me why they would argue that is because of Under the Sea. Because Under the Sea is kind of like a distinctly Jamaican flavored song. Cool, whatever.
Well,
but it's still Danish.
Isn't that because the crab or the lobster guy has that voice?
Yeah, because
he's the one singing it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just to fuel Sebastian's character. Now, it's not a reflection of where this takes place, because she goes on sea. If it took place in the Caribbean, Prince Eric would not be a freaking buff white dude living in a giant castle. It would be a Caribbean dude. And depending on where this is at, judging by the crab's Jamaican accent, it'd probably be a Bob Marley looking dude. So that doesn't make sense. It's a defense. But notice how it's distinctly a Danish piece of folktailing. It is distinctly It's distinctly Tolkien that they're pulling out, based off of European medieval fantasy, which fantasy in general is typically a European genre. Most fantasy pulls their inspiration from medieval Europe, but because it pulls from medieval Europe, they also allow for distant lands with different looking people, which, from all the conversation I've seen over Lord of the Rings and, say, Game of Thrones, the worlds are developed enough to where, like Dorne in Game of Thrones, Dorne is kind of a more faraway place that kind of represents more of the Middle East, or a more like Eastern Europe vibe. So you can develop out a fantasy world like that. From what I've seen from Tolkien and people talking about it, there are stories that revolve around people of the Far East, with Asian-looking people and black-looking people. But also, this is fantasy, so their races are not white, black, yellow, whatever. It's different, but the point of it is fantasy is more of a distinctly European, a culturally European genre. And that is what they're going after now with Tolkien, who is not only pulled it from medieval Europe. He was a Catholic, very devout Catholic, hung out with C.S. Lewis a lot, the great C.S. Lewis. So this story was also infused with Catholicism and religion and allegories towards our relationships with God. And now the show currently exists. I think there's a scene where Galadriel rejects any type of belief, even though in that world it is established that these religious systems are real because it is infused with Catholicism. But this show apparently decides to reject religion. So not only are we taking European stuff and trying to the opposite of whitewash it, but we're also taking more religious works and trying to cast a more cynical, atheistic worldview onto it. And so this is kind of why a lot of people are distancing themselves from establishment or big franchise media, is because we're rejecting and changing anything and attacking anything that's distinctly European, Danish, Norse, whatever. But it's much more cynical and atheistic. Look, I'm cool with some atheist. I'm friends with one, an atheist socialist. I've brought her up a couple of times. But the thing is, there are some stories out there that are distinctly Christian, distinctly based in Catholicism or some sort of religion, and those typically tend to be very compelling. And if you're going to go in and remake it, say you're going to go in and remake Lord of the Rings, Narnia, trying to think of a couple others. When you want to go into basically any old European text of the early 20th century, a lot of that's infused with Catholicism and Christianity into it, and you're going to put this atheistic worldview into it, which tends to be, especially in that context, a lot more cynical. People don't really like it and tend to reject it at certain points in time, depending on the project. The Boys, it's a very cynical show, and that's why I've stopped kind of liking it as much. I'm getting sick and tired of the cynical worldview in Hollywood right now. Everything has to be cynical. Everything has to be making fun of something or someone or whatever, and we can't just have a story, a good heartfelt story about a group of kids fighting evil and trying to save someone they love. We can't have a story about someone going to the ends of the earth to save the day, going to the ends of the earth to save their family. Something that's just genuine and heartfelt. That's why I've gravitated towards more heartwarming and wholesome stories this year. I mean, there's a movie that came out a couple months ago that I've missed that I really want to see called Marcel the Shell, which I've heard is just a very genuine and wholesome and heartfelt movie. And that is what audiences, I think, are starting to drift more towards, rather than the current state of the MCU, which is super cynical. We have to take on the patriarchy and all that kind of stuff. Lord of the Rings, that's not with the times. We gotta make it more with the times, and by doing so, reject religion and shove diversity down your face in a world in which it makes no sense, and then tell you you're racist if you reject it. At the end of the day, the current state of franchise Hollywood is we gotta erode and destroy everything that has existed before in an attempt to modernize it, use minorities as our meat shields, and make everyone hate us, and then say it's their fault for being angry. Oh, you're too negative about our property, even though our property is inherently cynical and atheistic. It's not cool. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. And that's the reason why Rings of Power is being so poorly received, on top of the fact that Amazon only recently have allowed negative reviews to be posted about their 2-week-old show. You ruin something with cynicism, and then you try to blame it on the fans and cover it up. It's disappointing, and it's not cool, and this is why, frankly, like for me, I like independent filmmaking right now. I forced you to go see Titan last year, which was this really weird French movie, and we both, I mean, it was disturbing as all hell, but we both walked out saying that was enjoyable because it was original. It wasn't super cynical. I mean,
I'll say this: it wasn't necessarily enjoyable, but it was a good movie. Like, as a piece of art, it was really good.
It was really good, and part of it kind of has to do with this weird, like, familial bond between a firefighter and a criminal, and that bond was strangely wholesome. You know, it was portrayed genuinely, without a lot of cynicism and skepticism behind it. Those are the types of movies that people want to see, even though, frankly, I probably wouldn't recommend it to a lot of people. I wouldn't show it to the family. Grandparents, if you're listening, don't watch it. But those are kind of the types of movies I'm gravitating towards. My favorite movie of the year so far is The Northman. I'm sure by the end of the year I'll probably slip in my top 10 at some point. But The Northman's my favorite movie of the year so far, and it's just about a guy who's setting out to avenge his father, and trying not to let that vengeance consume him. Ultimately pursuing vengeance, but for a more noble reason, and that is to protect his family. Rejecting vengeance, embracing protectionism. It's a great movie. I love it. That's why I don't care about the MCU, Rings of Power, any of that, because it's skepticism. It's there to combat fans, and it's there to essentially erode any established European culture that ever existed. You know, next time you see a movie about ye olde Spain, right? Any movie about Finland, Sweden, Norway, England, Scotland, Ireland, they're going to take some of that and try to, modernize it, even though we don't do that for African mythology, Indian mythology, Asian mythology, Native American mythology. All of that, we gotta preserve that the way it is. But it's okay if we change the European stuff. Anyway, moving on. That was a bit of a rant. That was really all I had to say about the culture stuff, because not a lot happened. She-Hulk didn't have any big scenes that went viral. Well, I mean, there was a sequence. She got laid this week, so
No.
she catfished a dude by doing the She-Hulk Tinder as her Tinder profile, but then after she banged the dude, she changed back, and he's like, "Oh, that's what you look like." So, yeah. Anyways, we'll move on. How long have we been going?
55.
55. Okay. So shoot, we still okay. We might as well move in.
Yep.
Might as well move into woman moments. Even though this will also be a shorter segment, I only have 5. So, let's go with woman moment number 1. So we got a girl trying to toss trash in the dumpster. Her friend comes over to open the dumpster up for her, and she just throws it right into her. Oh man, you help a friend out, and she's just woman moment number 2. This is a cooking tutorial. She's pouring cherry Coke into sugar-free cherry Coke.
To be fair, that looks like one of those Facebook videos
Yeah.
that those really big conglomerates make just to get views.
Yeah, fair.
Like the dude who puts glue all between the keys of the keyboard and then puts glitter all over it.
Oh
And
my
like,
gosh.
oh, wow, I never knew about this trick.
Like
And
Troom
it's
Troom and stuff like that.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, Troom Troom that's a whole thing. But yeah, essentially what happened was she poured cherry Coke into a box of sugar-free chocolate cake or something and said, "We're making sugar-free cherry Coke somehow." And puts the blending whisk into the box, and it just spins around and just sloshes all that all over her. Oh man. All right, woman moment number 3. Woman posing with a female walrus, and the walrus says, "If it," and gets her all wet. And you know how I know it was a female walrus? Because a male walrus would never do it. I mean, probably, but male walruses, they got the tusk. Female walruses don't. So it's pretty easy to distinguish. So, you know, even in every species, women gots to be combative. Woman moment number 4. This is in honor of the queen. So this is a lady in full on ceremonial garb in Britain. I don't know if it's military or if it's like a marching band. I'm assuming military.
It's like
And
royal stuff.
Yeah, and she's having a hard time getting on her horse.
No, have you seen, when we're talking about the Queen, did you see that video? It's like a newscast, and it's looking over like Britain or whatever. It's like the Queen has died, and the newscasters are talking over top. But then right down in the corner underneath, between where the news banner is and the bottom of the screen, there's 2 guys standing there in like reflective vests, like workers. The one guy shows the other guy his phone, and then he starts doing the flossing. The caption was something about Irish people.
That's hilarious. All right, final one, woman moment number 5 or 6, or the last one I said. Yeah. So this is Marjorie Taylor Greene with a tweet that said, "God only created 2 genders." And this lady, Allison, had a fun response to it, and she said, "Wrong. God only created 1 gender and a rib, but I wouldn't expect a rib to know that." That's just funny. That's funny. I don't know what Allison's politics are or anything like that, but rare funny woman moment. But speaking of the Queen, we're gonna get a new Netflix adaptation of her. Picture number 11. This is what she's gonna look like. Obviously, it's a joke. I mean, we already have a Netflix adaptation of The Queen right now, but I just found that that's gonna happen one day. We're gonna have a freaking an older like Yvette Nicole or Nicole Yvette Brown or an older Olivia. I can't remember these names. It's right when I need to know them. Gosh, it's gonna be Viola Davis as the Queen Elizabeth. She's already gonna be the woman queen in the new movie, The Woman Queen. I think this weekend or the next. So she's already halfway there. But yeah. And that's pretty much all I got this week. There wasn't a lot of fun woman moments, not a lot of big news stories that I really wanted to talk about, just kind of updates.
Some little stuff over here, like Instagram shutting down Pornhub's account.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Just small stuff like that, which, I mean, that's a win in and of itself, especially since, Pron's so prominent these days. But we got some wins. We also had the story of the Fall Hall 2.0 where Florida deputies managed to lead an operation, 7-day sexting operation, where they managed to nab 160 people who were going to meet up with minors. And there's also other good news, I guess, for the county this takes place in. Only like a handful of them were actually local. A lot of them were coming from out of county, out of state. So good news. I forget. Let me pull this up real quick. Forget the exact county, but good news. That place, Polk County. Good news, Polk County, Florida. You're not a bunch of pedos. There's just a bunch of pedos trying to get into your county. So we also had at least 2 human trafficking victims potentially saved in this operation, which is, I mean, anyone we can save from that. It's a horrible, horrible industry. But we're glad to see that. But another thing that came from this was we had 2 Disney employees get arrested as a result of this. We need to keep a running tally of every Disney employee that gets arrested for specifically trying to engage in sexual actions with a minor, because this is happening way too much. And in response to that, the sheriff there said, "Where would we be with an undercover operation and no Disney employees? Oh yes, we always have Disney employees." My man just straight out said, "Yeah, it's a little weird how we always catch Disney employees doing this." Disney needs to get their act together. But yeah, I mean, that's all. Small stories like that, and it's important to celebrate the wins and to have fun, especially in the light of Facebook Live Man, and depending on your point of view, the death of the Queen of England. It's also the day we're recording. It's 9/11, so be sure to act in remembrance of those that passed, whether rescuing people or just being innocent victims of the government. I mean, Al Qaeda. Dude,
you can't say that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. What? Bush didn't do 9/11. He's too stupid. Now, Dick Cheney, on the other hand. I mean, what? No. But for real though, regardless of what you think about 9/11, it was a tragedy, nonetheless. It's just some of us happen to believe that our own government sabotaged itself,
or that they could have stopped it, but
didn't, or encouraged it. I mean, you had like Osama bin Laden hanging out in CIA hotels for a couple weeks before it happened. Mysteriously, a bunch of local Air Force planes decided to go on training missions far, far away from New York. I'm not saying, but I mean, all I'm saying is Alex Jones was able to predict it by just watching evening news. So, take that with a grain of salt. Put that on your plate. But yeah, I guess that will be all for us. Before we go, I mentioned last week that I'm an ambassador for a company. I should have an ad pulled up. Yeah. So I about a week ago, I decided to sign up to be an ambassador for Coffee Brand Coffee. I mentioned Jeremy earlier in this show from the Quartering. He started up a coffee company called coffeebrandcoffee.com. Well, .com's the website. If you go to coffeebrandcoffee.com, you and use the code Garrett, that's GARRETT, or you use the affiliate link in the link below, in the description below. I'm new to ad reads, so pardon me. But
it's not even a read. You're just.
I'm literally ad-libbing. Yeah, I almost forgot about it. I almost ended the show before saying it. But if you go to coffeebrandcoffee.com or visit the link in the description below, you will be able to save about 5% on your first order and get coffee, cocoa, or tea, any of that of your choice. And it comes back and kicks back to me specifically. But I'm going to try to use as many of those funds as possible to help with the show, and hopefully get it to look a little better and to be a little better, because frankly we're all over the place. But yeah, go visit coffeebrandcoffee.com, use code Garrett, that's GARRETT, 2 R's 2 T's, and get 5% off of your order. That will be it for this week of Alt.tistic. I'm your host, Garrett. We've had the most retarded time here. Our co-host Davey is missing in action once again, but he will be back next week unless he tells me the day before we shoot that he's also going to be out of town. So no promises kept there. But we do have my producer here with us, Zach.
Yep.
And we hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Alt.tistic. We are live, I guess. I mean, we go live. We put the episode up.
Post the video.
We post the video every Monday at around 2 o'clock. Hopefully we will have some more time in future dates to start posting other things more regularly, start posting clips, that kind of stuff. So be on the lookout for that. We're on Odyssey, YouTube, Rumble now. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, or Google Podcasts. Any of those choices that fit you best. Give us a rating, review on the podcast apps, like and subscribe on all the video places. And yeah, that will be it for us this week. Stay retarded. Good night.